Welcome to Mastering Innovation Together with Alan Kent and Chris Koomey of Thorben Consulting. And we've been talking about AI, artificial intelligence, and how it may evolve over time. And with all of our technology, the area that it goes to that is always unexpected is the ability to support people communicating and collaborating. So the telephone, when that was built, everyone thought it would be for business transactions, but it really became humans calling to see how each other were doing. And then that with the internet, what really took off was emailing, then social networks. And so with the AI, there's a lot of activity around chatbots, but even around coding. Where do you see it going from a collaboration communication standpoint?
Well, for right now, I kind of see it being another tool in the toolbox of similar to using Google to accomplish a task, using AI as a extension of oneself to be able to shortcut the task that takes to accomplish something. We're probably likely to see on an interpersonal level a trend, much that cell phones kind of ended up providing, where you think back in the day when telephones first came out, everybody memorized the telephone numbers of all their friends.
I had it on
Now,
a piece of paper that I carried in my wallet. I had
yeah, like you had to keep track of all that stuff, and now with smartphones and having the contacts pre-programmed in, or sometimes not even adding the contacts, you have a social media account and you become friends with somebody else, and the social media account syncs all the contact information over for you. There's been a trend that as we have information available at our fingertips via our phone, there's less need to memorize some things that we previously would have to memorize. When it comes to like programming and coding, you're seeing kind of a trend from the classic coding job interview where the applicants quizzed on, okay, what how would you tackle this scenario from a let's have you generate a reverse map search function, and all these very technical of have you memorized the exact efficient way to do XYZ. Whereas now it's more, okay, can you take a high level concept, break it down and distill it into the smaller components, because you don't need to know the most efficient way to do this esoteric function, because that problem's been solved. And that problem's been solved, reviewed, iterated on, and improved by hundreds of programmers in the community. And so you could take your first stab at it, but your first stab at it's probably not going to beat the established best like unit logic for that. So right now, you go Google, Stack Overflow, even the best programmers use Stack Overflow to help build out reused logic components. This trend that we're seeing with AI and it being able to generate code that it's been trained from data sets very much like Stack Overflow. So it knows the best practices. And so it's going to be kind of an extension of oneself to be able to say, I don't need to know this piece of information of how specifically to interact with this API. I just need to know I need to interact with that API. I need to send this information there, and let the AI bridge that gap for us. It's going to be a thing that frees up more of our memory to focus on other tasks, because that information is going to be so readily available through this AI extension.
So yeah, human progress has always been standing on the shoulders of the geniuses that came before. And it almost seems like AI is giving us the ability to stand even more shoulders as we
Yeah.
basically leverage what people have done before.
Yeah, and I mean, you see one of the challenges of as the world becomes more interconnected, but the amount of data being produced is exponential. So
Well,
while
it's always been
there's,
being produced, but it's never been captured. Now it's being captured.
yes, captured, recorded, and as more um systems come online, more automations and stuff, you have automations, you have systems contributing to this information pool outside of just humans contributing to it. So it's almost too vast of an information source for one person to be able to consume in their lifetime. The AI and pre-training on the data sets and being able to capture some of that expansive knowledge and distill it down into an interface that we can just ask a question, and it has done the years worth of research for us to be able to be kind of the subject matter expert on all that stuff. We're still having to fact check it and all that right now, but those are some of the remaining hurdles to overcome with the technology.
And it really seems like it's going to help us accelerate progress. And it gets to some of the things you were talking about on the ethics side, as long as it's used in an appropriate way.
Yeah, both the use and the training of it. Those are kind of the two components that you have to, because the use is being done by humans. The training, the selection of the training material is being done by humans, and so those are both points where we can introduce our own biases and our own intentions into the AI. So that's where we have to be careful on the ethical front.
Yeah, and I think with the ethics, one thing we learn is when things get started, humans focus on the ethics, but then once they start using it, the ethics kind of get thrown out, or at least they get modified or overlooked. Or
Yeah, yeah, you always have. I mean, we live in a capitalist society, so there's always going to be companies that are looking for the profit margin, and so that they will do whatever needs be to get there. But that's where, since it's a kind of emerging technology still, where it's really taking off, it's starting to really drive those discussions, and so the people that are involved in developing these models and pushing the bleeding edge farther ahead. They've realized this concern, and so there's entire teams that have dedicated research to the ethics around AI use, and so we're getting there as a society of having those conversations.
yeah, I call it the Jurassic Park issue. Like the scientists spent all their time wondering what they could do, and they didn't think about what they should do. And it creates this Pandora's box potential. And I think that's where the ethics focus on with AI, is that there's almost this unknown about how it can be used, and then have ripple effects that are unanticipated.
Oh yeah, at the very least, we need to make sure that the AI understands the ethics that killing humans is bad. Make sure that we get that in there first.
But even there, we saw in iRobot that doesn't always stick.
Yes. Well, hey, there's always the logic of, hey, the humans are ruining the Earth and they're gonna hurt themselves, so we need to eliminate a certain percentage of them to help protect things.
So it's really not our it's the ethics of the AI, not our ethics. That's where it gets more complicated, I guess.
Yeah, well, and the current trend on a lot of these models is using neural networks on the back end, and what that means is we're not really writing the algorithm or the code to make the decisions. We are selecting a series of inputs that the model can use to understand the world around it. And then it will run through a series of transformers and give us an output. And when we're in the process of training it, and that's where you kind of get into machine learning on the training side, we select criteria on which to score the model. So the model, when it's training and then the neural network, it's going to try random things, It's going to make random mutations to the neural network run through the input and produce output, and then you're going to have a score function that scores that output of how good was the output. And there's potential for biases there, or sometimes we learn that maybe we didn't select the best scoring criteria on there of uh, like I think there was one that tried to get an AI to play a game, and so one of the criteria that they dictated was, okay, the higher point is going to be the quicker you can beat the level. Well, I think they said instead of beating the level, just the quickest way through the level. And so the model learned that, hey, if it ran into and killed the main character really quickly, that would end the level very quickly. So task accomplished. This is the most efficient way to end the level as quick as possible. So there's nuance and stuff required there. And as the models get more complex, you're tuning more and more scoring functions at different transformers within the network. It's almost kind of a hive mind of going back to kind of the microservice approach of there's multiple consumers and publishers within the neural net.
I think it's as we're mastering innovation together, we just have to be more considerate and more nuanced in our thinking. And I think that's where we're heading. Thank you for mastering innovation together today with Thorben Consulting. This is Chris Koomey. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy the show, if you have any comments, questions, or just want to learn more about what we do. Thanks for joining us.